fate of the galaxy hinged on 3 simple words: I am your father. In that moment on Cloud City, Luke Skywalker's entire world shattered. But what if instead of choosing to fall to his possible death, he had made a different choice? What if he had taken his father's hand? The rebellion crushed, the Jedi extinct, and the son of Skywalker embracing his destiny alongside Darth Vader. This isn't just speculation. This scenario would have completely transformed the Star Wars universe as we know it. Today, we're diving deep into the darkest timeline, where the galaxy's greatest hope becomes its greatest threat. Let's rewind to that crucial moment on Cloud City. Luke has just lost his hand, learned the devastating truth about his father, and stands at the precipice of an impossible choice. In the original timeline, Luke chooses potential death over joining Vader. His rejection of the dark side becomes one of the most defining moments in Star Wars. But imagine the alternate path. Luke, in shock and pain, suffering from the revelation about his father and seeing no escape, takes Vader's hand. With a simple gesture, the galaxy's last hope accepts his father's offer to rule the galaxy together. This single decision would doom the rebellion and forever alter the course of galactic history. The psychological factors behind this choice would be complex and powerful. Luke is traumatized and desperate. He's just learned his mentor Obi-Wan lied to him about his father's fate. The opportunity to rule alongside his father, despite Vader's evil, would present a powerful temptation that even the strongest mind might struggle to resist. Remember too, that Luke's training was incomplete. Unlike his father, who had years of Jedi discipline before falling to the dark side, Luke had only brief instruction from Obi-Wan and a short time with Yoda. His mental defenses against the dark side were minimal at best. The Empire Strikes Back showed us that Luke was already susceptible to anger and impatience, traits that Yoda warned could lead to the dark side. During his training on Dagobah, Luke failed the cave test, choosing violence when confronted with Vader's image. This foreshadowed his vulnerability to the dark side's pull. Additionally, Luke's desire to save his friends brought him to Cloud City in the first place, acting on attachment against Yoda's explicit warnings. This emotional decision-making is exactly what the Emperor would later exploit. When faced with Vader's revelation, an emotionally overwhelmed Luke might see joining his father as the only way forward. With Luke at his side, Vader would immediately take his son to Emperor Palpatine. The journey to the Emperor would give Vader precious time alone with his son. Unlike the cold, mechanical enforcer we know, Vader would show glimpses of Anakin when speaking with Luke. He would begin planting seeds of doubt about the Jedi, explaining how they betrayed him and describing their order as dogmatic and flawed. He would tell Luke how the Jedi feared power and those who could truly master the Force. How Obi-Wan feared Luke, just as he feared Anakin, which is why he lied about Luke's heritage. These conversations would serve as the beginning of Luke's indoctrination. By the time they reached the Emperor, Luke would already be questioning everything he thought he knew. The Emperor would see this as the ultimate victory. With the son of Skywalker under Imperial control, the last remnant of the Jedi would be corrupted to the dark side. Palpatine would approach Luke differently than he did Anakin. With Anakin, he spent years cultivating trust. With Luke, he'd need to work quickly. Palpatine would begin by appealing to Luke's sense of betrayal. He would portray the rebellion as using Luke as a weapon, just as the Jedi once used his father. He would emphasize how the rebels never told Luke the truth about his heritage because they feared his power. In contrast, the Emperor would claim the Empire embraces that power. Meanwhile, the rebellion would face catastrophe. Without Luke to rescue them, Han remains frozen in carbonite, eventually delivered to Jabba the Hutt. Leia, Chewbacca, and Lando would likely escape Cloud City, as they did in the original timeline, but without the hope of Luke coming to save Han. Most critically, the rebellion loses its most powerful asset, their only Force user and the pilot who destroyed the Death Star. The psychological blow to rebellion morale would be devastating. Throughout the galaxy, word would spread that Luke Skywalker, the hero of Yavin, had joined his father, Darth Vader. For many, this would be the final proof that the Empire was unstoppable. Rebel bases would empty as supporters lost hope. Mon Mothma and Admiral Akbar would struggle to keep the alliance intact, while Leia would become increasingly isolated as one of the few leaders still believing victory was possible. Luke's transformation wouldn't happen overnight. Palpatine is a master manipulator who would use Luke's existing emotions to corrupt him. His anger at Obi-Wan's lies, his desire for family, and his frustration with the seemingly hopeless fight against the Empire. Rather than breaking Luke down completely through torture and cruelty, as was typical Sith practice, Palpatine would take a more nuanced approach. Luke would be given power, luxury, and respect, things the humble farm boy never experienced. Imperial officers who once might have sneered at Luke would now bow before him. He would be given a high rank immediately. This respect and authority would be intoxicating. Vader would train Luke in lightsaber combat, pushing him far harder than Yoda ever did. Where Yoda emphasized control and peace, Vader would teach Luke to channel his emotions into physical power. Luke's natural talent would flourish under this aggressive training, and his lightsaber skills would quickly surpass most Imperial Inquisitors. The most crucial aspect of Luke's dark side training would focus on exploiting his compassion, traditionally seen as a Jedi virtue, and twisting it into a dark side strength. Palpatine would show Luke how the Empire brought order to chaos, how Imperial rule ended the Clone Wars, and how many systems prospered under Imperial control. He would convince Luke that compassion without power is meaningless, and that with the Empire's resources and his power in the Force, he could truly help those he cared about. Luke's Force abilities would grow exponentially. His mind probes would break the strongest wills. His lightning, taught personally by the Emperor, would rival Palpatine's own. But here's where things get complicated. Vader's original plan was to overthrow the Emperor with Luke's help. With his son at his side, Vader would accelerate this plan, seeing the opportunity to rule the galaxy as father and son. The Emperor, always 10 steps ahead, would anticipate this betrayal. He would plant seeds of doubt in Luke's mind about his father's intentions, creating a dangerous triangle of mistrust. Each Sith would be plotting against the others, the rule of two transforming into an unstable rule of three. After months of training, Luke would emerge nearly unrecognizable. His blue lightsaber replaced with a crimson blade, his farm boy innocence hardened into cold determination. The Empire would present him as a symbol of Imperial might, the hero who destroyed the Death Star, now loyal to the Emperor. The Emperor would recognize the strategic advantage of using Skywalker's reputation as a military asset. Luke would be appointed Grand Admiral Skywalker and given temporary command of the Death Squadron, Vader's personal fleet, while Vader oversaw the completion of the second Death Star. This separation would serve Palpatine's goals of keeping father and son apart, preventing them from conspiring too closely against him. It would also give Luke practical military experience and the taste of real power. Luke's military campaigns against the rebellion would be devastatingly effective. Unlike other Imperial commanders, Luke knew rebel tactics intimately. He knew their hiding places, their codes, their weaknesses. More crucially, he could sense Force sensitives who might join the rebellion's cause, hunting them down before they could become a threat. Under Grand Admiral Skywalker, Imperial forces would destroy major rebel bases on Hoth, Arbor, and Haven. The surviving rebellion would be forced constantly on the move, unable to establish permanent bases. Luke would also implement changes to Imperial military doctrine, informed by his time with the rebellion. He would place less emphasis on overwhelming firepower and more on small elite strike teams, often led by Luke himself. These surgical strikes would capture or eliminate key rebellion leadership. However, despite his outward loyalty to the Empire, echoes of the old Luke would occasionally surface. He would sometimes spare captured rebels rather than executing them, claiming they had intelligence value. He would advocate for reducing civilian casualties in Imperial operations, arguing that minimizing collateral damage would reduce support for the rebellion. These moments of mercy, rare as they became, would infuriate hardliners like Grand Moff Tarkin's successors. But with the Emperor's protection, none would dare challenge Skywalker directly. With Luke turned, the rebellion's chances would dwindle dramatically. But hope would survive through Leia, Luke's sister, though neither of them knows this yet. In this timeline, Obi-Wan's Force Ghost would need to take a more active role. He would appear to Leia, revealing her Force sensitivity and her connection to Luke. Without other options, Leia would reluctantly begin rudimentary Jedi training under Obi-Wan's guidance, while also working to rescue Han from Jabba. The rescue of Han would be far more difficult without Luke. Leia, Chewbacca, and Lando would still infiltrate Jabba's palace, but without a Jedi to confront the crime lord, they would need to rely on cunning and desperation. The mission would succeed, but at a much higher cost, perhaps with Lando sacrificing himself so the others could escape. The rebellion would reorganize around a cell structure, abandoning large bases for smaller, independent operations. Mon Mothma would establish a shadow government on distant worlds beyond Imperial reach, while Admiral Akbar would disperse the rebel fleet to avoid decisive engagement with Luke's forces. While Luke commands Imperial forces and Leia builds her Force abilities, another key player would emerge. On a remote Outer Rim world, a former Jedi Padawan, now a middle-aged warrior, would take on a student of her own. Ahsoka Tano, once apprenticed to Anakin Skywalker, would sense the disturbance in the Force caused by Luke's fall. Having survived the Empire's purges by staying hidden for decades, she would recognize that the time for hiding was over. Ahsoka would know the truth about Vader being her former master, and would understand the Skywalker bloodline better than most. Her training methods would combine Jedi teachings with lessons learned from her own experiences and failures. When news reaches her that Leia Organa is training as a Jedi, Ahsoka would make the difficult decision to reveal herself. Using old rebel codes, she would re-establish contact with the rebellion, offering her knowledge and her apprentice to the cause. This development would create a new dynamic, a potential Jedi Order rising from the ashes, led not by the Skywalker that Obi-Wan and Yoda had pinned their hopes on, but through an unexpected lineage of training from Ahsoka to her new apprentice and Leia. The reunion of Ahsoka with the rebellion would be bittersweet. Many old allies would be gone, and the organization itself a shadow of what the Republic once was. But Ahsoka's arrival would bring something the rebellion desperately needed: experienced guidance in the ways of the Force and first-hand knowledge of Anakin Skywalker before he became Darth Vader. This insight might be crucial in understanding how to reach Luke. Everything would culminate in a confrontation aboard the second Death Star. The rebellion launches their desperate attack, a mission even more suicidal than in the original timeline. With minimal Jedi training, Leia leads a strike team to confront her brother, hoping to turn him back to the light, while Ahsoka and her apprentice battles her way to the Emperor. The scene mirrors Return of the Jedi, but with critical differences. Leia stands before the Emperor, with both Vader and a darkened Luke at his side. The Emperor reveals to Luke that Leia is his sister, hoping to tempt Luke into destroying her to complete his journey to the dark side. The Emperor would taunt Luke, telling him he's hunted the rebellion's leadership for years, and now the last princess of Alderaan, his own sister, delivers herself to them. He would urge Luke to strike her down, completing his journey to the dark side. This creates the ultimate conflict. Luke must choose between his newfound power and the sister he never knew he had. Vader, seeing his children together, faces his own internal struggle. Meanwhile, Ahsoka would confront her former master for the first time since their duel on Malachor. She would refuse to leave him this time, offering redemption rather than simply loyalty. The resulting three-way lightsaber duel would be unlike anything in Star Wars canon. Leia, barely trained, but strong in the Force, fighting to survive against her brother, while trying to reach whatever good remains in him. Vader torn between his master, his son, and his daughter. Ahsoka battling Imperial guards, while her apprentice tries to reach the throne room. As the space battle rages outside, with the rebellion committing every last ship to this final desperate attack, the fate of the galaxy would hinge on this family confrontation. With Leia nearly defeated, Luke would stand over her, lightsaber raised for the killing blow. In this moment, something unexpected would happen. Luke would hesitate, memories of his former self fighting through the dark side's corruption. The Emperor, sensing Luke's wavering resolve, would fire Force lightning at Leia. As she crumples in agony, Luke would face the same choice his father once did: stand with the Emperor or save someone he loves. In this moment, Vader would make his move, but in a different way than in Return of the Jedi. Rather than attacking the Emperor directly, he would use the Force to give Luke back his old lightsaber, the blue one he lost on Cloud City, which Vader had kept all this time. Vader would remind Luke of his true heritage, not as a Sith, but as a Jedi, like his father before him. With his father's support and his sister's presence, Luke would have the strength to reject the Emperor. The ensuing battle would see Luke and Vader fighting side by side against Palpatine. Father and son united at last, while Ahsoka arrives to join the fight. As Luke and Vader push Palpatine back, the Emperor unleashes his full power, creating a force storm that begins tearing the throne room apart. Vader is thrown back, gravely injured. Luke stands alone against his former master. Blue and red lightsabers crossed. The Emperor snarls that Luke was destined to destroy the Sith, not join them, revealing that he had known all along about the prophecy of the Chosen One. But he declares that prophecies can be broken and destinies rewritten. Luke glances at his fallen father, his injured friends, and then back at Palpatine. The fate of the galaxy hangs in the balance. Will Luke find the strength to defeat the Emperor? Will Vader survive to know redemption? Will the Skywalker family finally bring balance to the Force? The dark side clouds everything, and the future remains uncertain. But one thing is clear: the moment Luke took his father's hand on Cloud City, the galaxy was set on an irreversible path toward this confrontation. A confrontation that would determine whether the Skywalker legacy would be one of darkness or light. Speaking of altered destinies in the Star Wars universe, our next exploration will examine another fascinating possibility. What if Anakin Skywalker had never been trained by the Jedi or the Sith, but by the Force itself? Imagine a world where the Chosen One's incredible potential was guided directly by the cosmic power that created him. How would his understanding of balance differ? Would this direct connection to the Force have prevented his fall to the dark side, or led to something even more powerful? Join us next time as we explore what might have happened if Anakin was trained by the Force. If you've enjoyed this journey through an alternate Star Wars timeline, there are more untold stories waiting to be discovered. Join our growing community of Star Wars enthusiasts who believe in exploring these what-if moments that could have changed the galaxy far, far away. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and activate notifications to catch our next alternative Star Wars story. Each tale offers a new perspective on the characters we love and the choices that define them. Remember to share your thoughts in the comments below. What other pivotal moments in the Star Wars saga would you like to see explored differently? Your ideas might inspire our next adventure. May the Force be with you, always.